Let's give it up for our next Headlight Talk.
An Excel sheet number 500 or something, and they're asking you for, bring in automation. Hey, we got this last minute tool, change your homepage into some new colors, change the CTA at the last minute. Any of those last minute requests that come in randomly, if you've sat to a situation like that, well, congratulations. You know what it means when the tail wags the dog. Okay, hello everyone. I'm Benisha Ali, and I am a service designer. I started out as an architect. I did my master's in visual design, and I have finally found home in service design and creating customer experiences and human-centric solutions for multiple things and people. In the past 15 years of my career, I have been in Tata Elxsi, and I've been at Designit, and now I'm in EY. I have been creating experiences across different industries, different sectors, different domains, different media. And finally, at EY, I'm creating more human-centric solutions for businesses. Okay, so businesses, processes, or services, products, all of them are essentially a bunch of moving parts, right? And all of these moving parts, we as service designers, we like to see them, know them, learn them, understand them, and connect them, etc. And yes, before I move on, that I also had a dog in the past, and that's probably why I'm talking with the dog reference. He was a floofy Labrador, and he used to have this really powerful tail which would like knock off things all over the place. And when I recall that, I clearly recall that that tail energy was pure energy, zero strategy. So a lot of these businesses, all those different parts that we learn and understand, if they don't lead with purpose and strategic people-centric decisions, well, that's what they look like. So, okay, so now we do have businesses and those various parts and all of that, right? So as service designer, we want to connect it and do all that, but why? What's my why? Why am I wanting to make those connections, right? Why am I interested in streamlining any of that stuff? In the world now, customer experience for sure, yes, we want to do it, but the stakes are so much higher. The world is changing so much faster. Business goals are so much different now. There's a lot of competition. And so it becomes all the more important for us to know those parts as designers and then eventually have control and influence them in the right way. Ensure that everybody's pushing in the right direction. Okay, so in my experience over the past 15 years, I have found that usually there are a couple of challenges and reasons why businesses, even though it sounds so simple, yeah, like all the parts are there, let's connect them. It sounds very simple, but why are businesses having it backwards these days? Couple of challenges. Well, the first one, disconnected systems. I'm sure a lot of you have had this experience where you've tried to call up customer service and you have explained to them your tale of woe. And then that person calmly responds back, sorry, this is not my department. Let me transfer you. You do that again and again and again. And if you're lucky, you're actually transferred. And by the end of it, you're probably better prepped for that session than I am for this one. So one of the projects in the past that we were working on, it was a procurement process. Now, a procurement process is a very simple process where you want to buy something as an employee. So there's you as an employee want to buy something. There is a team that will process your request. Then there's a team that will pay for it and then procure your whatever you want. Now, in this company, so the employee raised a request. It was a simple thing. He wanted to buy some ribbons for a party. He raised a request, and to raise the request, he had to fill in a form. The form was something pretty run of the mill, and it was available by some platform. He filled the form, fairly long form, filled it, send it to team number one. Team number one processes the request if all of that information is full. But let's say they process the request and they sent it to team number two. Now, team number two, they are the ones who deal with money. They're the ones who are going to pay for it, right? So when they have to pay for it, they're very specific about the information that they get. In this case, it was like a very small error. Like they had raised the request in feet. These guys wanted the request in meters. Very small issue. Because of that, they said, sorry, we cannot process your request. Cancelled. Now, all of this process has already taken a couple of days. And the poor requester, the employee who requested, he wasn't aware of the need or the error. He did it all right. He raised the request from an approved catalog. He followed the process. He did everything right. But in something so simple, it still resulted in what? Wasted energy, wasted time, wasted effort, frustrated employee, frustrated fulfiller, and the need to do it again. Why? Because they were not talking to each other. None of these departments, none of these three entities here were talking to each other. They didn't know what connected, what was the need, right? It's as if you have a bunch of musicians in an orchestra and all of them are trying to play a music, but they're reading different sheet music. They probably not even sat in the same room at the same time. Something like that. The next one, evolving risks. So I'm not talking about the kind of risk that sometimes come in your email or sometimes you've seen on Instagram, none of those. These are the very sneaky kind of risks that you'll probably come across. So COVID happened, right? The world changed. And the world changed in ways we're still catching up with. When I was designing 10 years ago, we were designing Kochi Water Metro. I didn't have to worry about risks like climate change, geopolitical situations, cybersecurity, emerging threat. I didn't have to worry about all of that. Today, if I don't think of those things when I'm designing, I'm pretty much doomed. But since the world changed, and one of the, let's say, the most, one of the best, not the best, the users of the customer service chatbot, that was probably something that all of us masses got to the chatbot, like to use AI in the mass way, the soonest. And businesses all over the world wanted it. All of them wanted it. They were bending backward to get it in some format or the other, right? And well, they got it. And then the world changed like rapidly. Then what happened? How many of you here in the crowd have had very useful conversations with an AI chatbot, customer service chatbot? Anyone? No one. How many of you have not gone back to a brand because of poor customer service? Maybe a chatbot involved. So many of you. Did this risk exist in this format in the past? Probably not. If in today's time, if I do not consider it, is this going to threaten my business? For sure. In the future, if I do not think about this thing, is it going to be a problem? Of paramount magnitude. Why? Why is that? Customers' expectations are changing. Their demands are changing. Technology is changing our lives at such a fast pace. So businesses are not going to anticipate that. It's just going to be like dogs chasing its tail. That's about it. Okay, disempowered people. In 15 years of my career, I can tell you one truth. Experiences are as good as the people creating it. And I'm not talking about just designers. I'm talking about everybody that touches it. You can hire the best people, but the challenge is not there. It's like having multiple 5-star chefs in the room, in the kitchen, and you give them different ingredients and ask them to create the same dish. It's not going to happen. At best, you're going to get a food fight, right? That's not going to happen. Okay, so here's a story. So my dad, he's pretty old and he wanted a new phone. So I wanted to exchange his old phone and get him one. So I went on one of the e-commerce sites, did my research, blah, blah, all that. And then, so the important two things were, I wanted to be there when the phone exchange was happening because of all the data that I want to sort of take care of, data backup, all of that. So I timed it and I waited 3 weeks to time it in a way where I would have been there. And I placed the request, I placed the order, and I'm waiting. I waited the whole day that they promised that they would send. It didn't come. And as annoyed as I was, I still called up customer service. And the customer service guy, he listens to me very patiently, my tale of woe he's listening to. And then very patiently he says, okay, ma'am, I'll put you on hold for a little bit. And he puts me on hold, come back and gives me this really vague answer. Sorry, ma'am, it was not delivered. That I was like, yes, I know that. So, and he says, okay, it'll get delivered tomorrow. So I say, I mean, that's not okay with me. I planned 3 weeks in advance for it to be delivered on a particular date and time. And you're saying randomly that wait another day. So I insisted. So he said, okay, fine. Let me see what I can do. I said, okay, fine. So he came back. Basically, he didn't do anything. And I said, okay, at least ensure that, it is going to be delivered by 11 a.m. on the next day. So that simple request was something he couldn't take. And then he says, no, ma'am, I can't do it. And I'm like, why? And he's like, no, I just can't do it. I can write a note. It might reach the delivery team. The guy didn't have the power to help me. He was just not empowered. He just had a script probably or whatever, but he was just not empowered to help. Okay, so this one is close to my heart, so I'm going to give you another story. So 10 years back when we were doing Kochi Metro, we did a lot of things for them. So one of the things that we did for them was design their ticketing system. So during this design, we were sitting in Bangalore and all, and we were designing from there. So we had all the benchmarking, we had all the ergonomic data, we had all of the, like we knew what all the equipment that's going to come there, how complex that system is. We had the workflow, we had all of that stuff. So we created this really good experience document, like a nice big printed document of the different things, different variables that could come up, all of that. We printed it and sent it out. A few weeks, few months later, I think, I got a chance to visit the station when it was almost done, not yet in function. So it wasn't yet functional. I went there and I got a chance to sit there. And I sat there and I realized, oh my God, all of that awesome experience and a big, nice document, that's probably not going to work here entirely. Why was that? I mean, everything, we had all the data, we had all of this, but there were simple issues. Like the person who sat there had to bend multiple times. He had to open the drawer multiple times. He had that card which he had to issue that was stored somewhere else. The printer took too long to print. His hands were going crisscross up and down. All of that just caused delay. I mean, imagine that situation with 10 people waiting for tickets. And what was our folly? We hadn't spoken to the user. We had all of the data. We hadn't spoken to the user. So as a designer, I was not empowering that guy either. Right? Okay. So challenges, yes. What do we do now? Design can save us? Yes, no. For all of the young ones here, let me tell you, burst your bubble. No, it's not going to happen. For all of the slightly older ones here who are smiling, and you know what I'm talking about. Okay, design not going to save us. So what now? What do we do now? It's a design-led approach, and this is not about creating pretty things using the very trendy themes. This isn't even about letting AI tell you what to do. This is a fundamental way of thinking where you align systems and put people at the center of change. That is what is going to help you, right? So, what does this mean in practice? Design-led approach, yes. What does it mean in practice? And I put empathy up And I'm pretty sure in 1.5 days of the conference, you've heard this word many, many times. I know it's a very used word, very overused, almost abused sometimes. Yes, for sure. But the world is changing, which means people's needs are changing. How are we going to know people's needs are changing if you're not going to find out? If you're not going to talk to them, how are you going to know? But the more important caveat is empathy for everyone. It's not just about the users, it's about talk to your business process holders, talk to the stakeholders, other stakeholders, the people who are going to pay you, talk to the people who are going to develop it, talk to the ones who are going to pay for it, talk to the ones who are going to implement it, talk to everybody. This image that you see on screen, this is the Kochi Water Metro, the boat, and that wavy form that you see, that also we designed. And we designed this in accordance to the brand guidelines that we had established. We gave them all those nice Pantone color, shade card, everything. And when it came to execution, the guy called me and he said, "Sorry, ma'am, your shade card's not working for me." Okay, for the kind of paint that he needed, he said his shade card not working. So I had two options. I could either just let him pick his colors or talk to him. So we spoke a couple of times, and then that Pantone shade card was not working. He said he gave me some really like 10 colors, and I said, "Sorry, I can't work with this one." So we then went back and forth, and finally, because of empathy from both sides, we did come to some sort of a conclusion, some sort of a shade card which he could work and he could find the colors. And because of that, that happened. And all of the boats on Kochi Water Metro system now have that livery. That's what happens when you have a little bit of openness, little bit of empathy from both sides. That's what happened. Okay, second one. Visualize the invisible. Now, as a service designer, I know we love making blueprints. We love it. But who's got the patience, right? In today's world where everything is fast, 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 who's got the patience? So think of it this way. You want to build a house, so you want to know where the rooms are, where the windows are, where the light switches are, where the lights are coming, where the piping is, where the wiring is, etc. All before you build the house, right? Similarly, so when you have a blueprint where you're looking at all the different parts, where you're looking at all the different connected systems and actors and everything, what you're doing is you're bringing together the siloed systems, you're looking at what connects each other. And this way, there are three big advantages that come to mind. One, you can impact the roadmap in ways, you can basically control it in ways which create the impact the way you want it, right? You can do small wins. You can decide that you want to take up a feature development, whatever that is, after 6 months, but you know where you're headed. You know your strategic purpose, right? Second thing, AI. So you want to use AI, great, but you need to plan for it. You need to know where to use it. When you have a roadmap and you have a blueprint of that kind, and a blueprint is a tool, you can do it in many ways. It's about putting all of the parts together. When you have a picture of that kind for you, that is when you can figure out where to use AI in the right way. Where to use it in the right way, how can you impact it in the best way, and all of it headed in the right strategic direction. And the third thing, change. Any transformation that we do means change, right? How are you ensuring that the change you're bringing in is being adopted? A lot of projects that I do now is because there's poor adoption. A lot of it that I do now is because of poor adoption. When you have all the pictures and parts, you know which ones you can control, which ones you can impact, and when, how, and all of this, you kind of keep in mind the change aspect as well, and you're pushing in the right direction. And also do it because it impacts the tangibles. All of that impacts the tangibles. Okay. The third one, co-create and iterate. You heard this also time and again, right? You heard this time and again, and I also said, bring in all the people, put them in the same room, facilitate a solution, and let them kind of give you a solution. One really good thing that it does, it gets you very early buy-ins, which means, if I have to rephrase that sentence, your approvals come in really quickly. Approvals come in very quickly means your things will get moving. The other really good thing that it does, it is the fastest way to ensure good adoption. Okay? Okay. So, the world is not going to stop changing. People are going to keep evolving. The systems are never going to be perfect. But you make the disconnected systems into cohesive ecosystems. You lead with curiosity and not panic. You anticipate the risks, don't react. Have a big picture view and ensure that all your people and systems are pushing in the same strategic direction, and you have gold standard of what design-led approach actually is. Okay, so the next time you're sitting in a room with a last-minute meeting and someone said, okay, bring in automation, randomly someone says, do this for me, last-minute request, just think about whether it's the dog wagging its tail or the tail wagging the dog, and if it's the latter, now you know what to be.